Hi, this is George, a volunteer with the Dishman Hills Conservancy. Today I'm in the Dishman Hills out at the Lost Pond, and I'm going to be doing an activity that I call Recipe for the Forest. And it's something that I can do out here in the woods or really anywhere. I can do it in my own backyard, I can do it in any natural area or at a park. And what the recipe is basically I look around and I see what the ingredients are and maybe how they interact to make this habitat or this forested area in this case operate. How does it work? What are the living things here? What are the non-living things here? And how do these things interact? So in my journal, I start to record what I see. And I always have to start with what I call the laws of life. L for light, sunlight. How much is there? And is it getting through the trees? A for air. W, of course, for the water. Then we have S for the soil. So light, air, water, and soil. Those are the things that make up the laws of life, and the amount of them or the quality of those things really impact what you can expect to see growing and living in a particular area. So I'm going to start an inventory here. I'm going to look around and I'm going to start listing what I see. I look around and see, well, it's kind of filtered sunlight. You can probably see there's shadows around me quite a bit, and other places where it's more brightly sunlight. And there's plenty of water here. You know, it just recently rained, so there's a lot of water on the ground. And behind me, we have the Lost Pond, so I know there's a big body of water there. I also have the soil. You know, it's rocky right in through here where I'm at. I've got a lot of pine needles and things here on the bottom. Lots of things breaking down. I've got plants growing up out of that. So I think I've got a fairly rich soil just based on what's growing around me here. So I make some notes about what I see in my book here. On the laws of life. Then I'm going to look around and see, okay, what's growing out of the soil? I already indicated I've got some snowberry here. I might list that in my book. I've got Ponderosa pine. I got some Douglas firs. I'm going to write them down. I've got a bush behind me here. You know, I don't quite know what that bush is. That's okay. I just will write down a bush or a short tree here. I've got grasses. I've got mosses. I got some kind of little plant growing right here. I probably put that in my recipe. I'm not sure what it is, but it sure is cool. And then I can look around and see, are there any creatures living here from small birds to small mammals? And maybe I don't see any of those. Maybe I have to just imagine what might be here. What have I seen in this area before when I've been here? So I can record here what I actually see. I could also record signs. Maybe I find some footprints of an animal or something that had been eaten. Like for instance, down here by my feet, I had a cone that I was looking at, and you can see how it was chewed on by some kind of animal. It's hard to know for sure unless I actually saw the animal working on it, but it's trying to get in there and get the seeds out of here between all of these places. Okay, maybe that was a squirrel or a chipmunk or something. I can guess a little bit there, and write any notes here as to what else I think might be living here. Then another category I need to include. I need to look a little bit closer. You know, there's some things around here, you know, like this pine cone. I said, this has died, right? And it's been eaten a little bit, and now it's starting to turn back into soil, as are these pine needles. All these things are breaking down, the pine needles, etc. You can see some of that's already turning into soil. I can kind of pick that apart and look at it. And there are things called decomposers, or what we call the FBI, F for fungus, B for bacteria, I for invertebrates, that are here helping break these things back down into soil. And again, as we know, soil is one of the laws of life, and so I start to have a cycle. I've got the laws of life, I get the plants that utilize the laws of life, I get the animals that maybe eat some of the things that they find out here that are growing, and in some cases eat each other, like the carnivores or the omnivores. And then I get the decomposers who turn things back into soil, which is one of the laws of life, and I start creating a very big cycle here of all the living things in this habitat. So I'm going to start looking around and see what else I can find. So this recipe for the forest, or a recipe for a meadow, or even a recipe for your own backyard, or a recipe for a local park, is a fun thing that you can do in your journal, and something I sure like to do. So I encourage you, go ahead and try that out at home, and indeed, if you make a sketch or you do a really cool recipe card and you want to share it with us at the Dishman Hills, please do. We'd certainly love to hear from you.